What is a medium-term rental? Okay, these have been around for a while. They are executive rentals. Traditionally, business people would travel for a few months, work from a local office, and then return home. Hello and welcome to Financial Fluence. In this video, we're going to discuss what a medium-term rental is and why you might want to use this strategy. Let's now get going. I've seen this with several of my tenants since, as the world has become more open. Many people are working from home and living overseas as digital nomads. They may, for example, spend a month in Denver before moving to Austin and then Hawaii. Furthermore, the last tenant category that we encounter a lot is made up of traveling nurses. Some people live full-time on Airbnb and don't own a home, so they merely travel the world and stay in medium-term rentals. Traveling nurses, who earn significantly more than regular nurses, have seen a huge surge in demand since COVID. With all of these new renters moving in, demand is now considerably higher than supply, so we need to locate more medium-term rentals for these people. The properties we'll talk about today that are fantastic for MTRS might not be your first choice for a holiday rental, but that's not the point. We're attempting to generate cash flow. That's what I tell people. It's vital to buy where it earns money, not necessarily where you like to visit, if you want to develop wealth over time. Don't necessarily invest where you want to travel or live. Invest where it makes money. Okay, so before we talk about why you should adopt the method, let's talk about the 5 key justifications I have for why it's great. Number 1, regulations. Due to a lack of regulations, short-term rentals have a reputation for breaching the law. The trend began in more populous urban areas. But now, almost everyone is starting to forbid or severely restrict the use of Airbnb as a rental strategy. You can't truly do as many short-term rentals as a result. And what I really like about the medium-term approach is that after 30 days, people begin to see you more as a long-term rental rather than a transient one. You won't have to pay lodging taxes. You won't have to jump through all the extra hoops of the permitting system for short-term rentals, which is typically very confusing. And you won't have as many hoops to jump through if you need to obtain a long-term license at all, because those have been around forever and are grouped together with you. Number 2, cash flow. People who use that rental strategy have grown accustomed to saying, hey, if I can make $100 a month or $200 a month over the mortgage, that's good enough for me. For me, that's not good enough. I want to find something better because if I have one maintenance issue, I might eat up a few months of my profit. And then what are we really doing here? I don't like rules of thumb too much, but my general rule of thumb is that I prefer to obtain roughly $1,000 in profit from my units. I like this because it provides a buffer, and I also like it because it makes it simple to determine my financial independence. Therefore, if you have this objective and you're saying, hey, I want to get to $5,000 per month in cash flow, or I need $10,000 per month so that I can retire, then the math is simple, and you only need 5 units or 10 units respectively. I like the simplicity and the space, so the reason I prefer the medium-term rental strategy over the long-term rental strategy is that it generates more cash flow, because tenants are willing to pay more for the convenience of a furnished property and something they can do on a really flexible, shorter lease. Although it doesn't earn as much as a short-term rental, I'll explain my preference for medium-term rentals in the 3rd reason I adore this tactic. And before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button and turn on the notification bell to be notified every time a new video is uploaded. Let's return to the video now. Number 3, ease. With short-term rentals, you deal with guests arriving on average every 3 or 4 days, so in those 3 days, they need to learn everything about your home, including how the TV works and where the trash goes. If that is your typical guest day, it will happen again and again. So there's a lot of guest communication and teaching. Overall, it's just a lot more work. Our normal schedule for such a medium-term rental is 3 months. Typically, someone moves in and becomes acquainted with your home within the first few days, and if they don't ask you any questions within that time frame, you may not hear from them for the duration of their stay. Now, that's what I like, right? So, that's an easy tenant. The 3-month stay is because travel nurses typically have a 13-month contract, which they frequently extend, so that'll be the case with that tenant. Number 4, fewer expenses. So if you've been kind of just experimenting with Airbnb and thinking, hey, I want to get into this strategy, I'm reading a lot of stuff, you could be seeing on social media a lot of excitement surrounding these really huge statistics, such as, I made $100,000 this month, etc. The issue with short-term rentals is that more than 50%, sometimes even 75% of that income goes to expenses. So we just don't have as much of that in the medium-term rental sector. What people don't tell you is that those are gross statistics, not net statistics. You only have a cleaner come at the end of Thursday. You're leaving them with supplies at the beginning. You're not paying for things throughout, and you have your few utilities. You only get one rental check as opposed to a short-term rental where they pay you every time a guest checks in. So you might get 15 checks a month, all for different prices. It's much easier for your bank account. Number 5, less competition in the space. You may have noticed that there are some true professionals in the sector. Whether you use Airbnb as a visitor or if you just started experimenting with being a landlord or host. On that platform, there's a lot of competition from top interior designers, boutique hotels, and so on. However, what I love to see is that even though medium-term rentals can utilize Airbnb as a platform for their marketing, we also use a website called Furnish Finder. And on Furnish Finder, it's the Wild West, with mom and pops and places that are dimly lit and barely furnished. It's a very different kind of game. Again, my justifications for this method are the lack of regulations, the additional cash flow, the ease, the reduced costs, and finally, number 5, less competition. And that's all. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoy similar stuff, check out my other videos. And if you like it, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. And I'll see you in the next video.